I would take that thing up to speeds that are not legal anywhere but in Germany. Now, the problem with Porsches is that they've been refining the same car for 45 years, 50 years. That's also the amazing thing about Porsches is now you have a reliable car in different variants. And if there's ever a variant of the Porsche that it's sort of like driving bliss, it's the GT cars. And namely the GT3. The 997 GT3 is probably going to go down as one of the most desirable driver's cars in history. And there's people that swear by the air-cooled this and that. They're just blowing smoke. You can't, as long as you know how to drive stick, get behind the wheel of a 997 GT3 and have a bad time. Simple, unless you crash it, which it's happened. I've had 3 of them as rental cars, and they kept getting crashed. And I was like, what is wrong with people? And that's when I realized that just people can't drive stick. But if you can drive stick and you know how to sort of handle a car to any extent, even as a novice, a GT3 is the best car you can buy as far as having a fun driver's car that it's just, you can wind it out. It doesn't scare you as far as feeling overpowered. The turbos don't have to kick on. It's nice linear power. It sounds nice. It handles nice. It stops nice. It looks cool. And it's probably my favorite car that I've ever owned that I regret selling. And I'm going to buy another one. And that was my goal with building my house, which I'm doing now, was to save enough money building my house so that I can go out and buy another GT3. And that's how I'm going to reward myself, is by buying another one, because I sold my previous one when the 991 stick shift came out. And I was like, you know what? Let's sell mine before the values on those go down, because the 991 stick shift just came out. A reasonable prediction. The values did not go down. They held firm. But I sold my car that I bought 3 years later. I sold it for $6,000 more than I paid for it, with about 15,000 more miles on it. Maintenance was maybe an oil change and a set of tires. It was a phenomenal ownership experience. I would beat the crap out of that car. And when I say beat the crap out of the car, I'm not drifting it. I'm not power sliding it, but I would definitely row through the gears. I would take that thing up to speeds that are not legal anywhere but in Germany. And I had a great time with it. Drove it through Death Valley. I drove it up Pikes Peak. I mean, I've covered elevation. I've covered anything that you could throw at a car. I tried throwing at that car. I've had it on racetracks, and that car just smiled and just kept going. And then it's one of those cars that like, oh, you want to drive here? Take it out. And like, people I trust, obviously, but not like, just go easy on it. Don't take it above 4,000 RPM. Go have fun. The car's not going to do anything wrong. And my buddy Shivam has a 997 GT3 RS. We were just out on adventure drives this year, and we were at Spokane International Raceway where we were lapping last time. And I was like, hey, do you mind if I was driving my 360, which is not a great track car. Like, I feel like if I stayed on the track too long, I would break something, and probably shifting related more so than anything. The car was fine when it was in gear, but it doesn't like hard shifts. The GT3, when I got in it, I started feeling guilty. 1, because I was doing so many laps, but 2, because everyone I was giving rides was like, wow, you drive it so much harder than he does. And I was like, you never want to hear that. Like, you don't want to drive somebody else's car harder than they drive their own. But I was just having so much fun with that car, and it was just the pinnacle of what a car needs to do to make somebody happy. And I haven't gotten my 991 GT3 yet, because the dealership tried to then tack on $10,000 on top of my order, and that bothered me. So I just said, I'm not giving you 10 grand. And they're like, well, we're canceling your order. And they sold it to somebody else, because that's what dealerships do. So I was like, all right, well, one day I will buy another Porsche GT3. There's plenty of them out there. There's people that are, and I thank every single one of you collectors that are sitting out there collecting a GT3. You over there, I'm sorry. I'm not talking to Ed. I'm talking to every one of you guys that goes out and buys a GT3. I love you, because I'm going to buy all of your cars. And I appreciate you sitting on those cars waiting for me to purchase them, because they're not going to go through the roof like you think they are. I'm just going to go give you essentially sticker price and get a brand new GT3 that you happen to hold and save for me for many years while you're paying insurance and not making any money. That money would have gone much further in the market. We can go through many different exercises as to what you could have done with that. But no, you decided that Rob's going to want to buy my car one day, and I'm going to sit on it for him. And I thank you for that. I owe you a drink and whatever the purchase price of your car is. So the fact that there are so many out there and so many people with the 911Rs and the GT3s think that these things are going to be super collectible, they're drivers' cars. Porsche made them as drivers' cars. There are drivers out there that are going to flock to buy them. They're always going to hold their value because they're great cars, and I'm not rushing to buy one. It's not like I'm missing the opportunity because there is somebody out there who's going to be like, I need to free up cash and I'm going to get rid of this car, and the wholesale is not going to be what they want, and I'm going to be able to step right into the driver's seat of another GT3, and I cannot wait until that day comes. Assuming I am still making reasonable money in 5 years, and money is not so much of an object, my dream garage will have a Ford GT, an 05 or an 06, white with blue stripes preferably. Again, 15,000 mile car. I don't need there's plenty of those. That's another car that you guys are just holding on to for me because the appreciation has stopped. Those cars went up to 200,000-300,000. A couple of the collector ones with no miles went up to 400,000. And then they flatlined. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to be $1 million cars. Stop sitting on them, or just sit on them until I'm ready to buy it. But I will have a Ford GT. I will have a GT3. I will have my 360. I'll have my NSX. I'll have my Corvette. I'll have my Supra. And I'd like an R34 GTR as well. I think that would pretty much round out a pretty solid garage. Probably a more modern Ferrari. I've got the 488 Spider, but I would probably go with a 458 Spider. I don't think the 488 is cool and all, but I'd probably get rid of it eventually and swap it for a 458 because I like the sound. 458 is like the right amount of fast. Like the 488 is like fast enough to get you in trouble. 458 is just the right amount where you can go out and have a great time. I don't see myself scooping up a Koenigsegg or anything like that. I think those cars are far too expensive. I may throw a Lamborghini in the mix. Maybe a Balboni would be a nice car to have in my garage. Other than that, I mean, I don't see, there's people that go out and buy 3 of the same car or maybe 10, 20, 30 cars. It's tough. If you can't cover all your bases in 6 or 8 cars, then you're never going to be happy. No matter then 100 cars won't do it. If you think about all the cars that I've just listed, they all do something very different and they all evoke different emotions. They're all sort of weapons suited for different fights. My Corvette, not very streetable, but it's fun to take around the track. It's great to go to a car show and two-step or do a burnout competition or something like that. The thing will roast a set of tires like nothing. The Supra, just a great driving car, makes a ton of horsepower. It's a Supra. Like the R34, same thing. It's right-hand drive. It looks cool. It just rounds out the collection of like JDM cars that I'm going to have in my fleet. The NSX, the Supra, the R34. I mean, that's the trio right there. Maybe I'll add the RX-7, but I've just never been a rotary guy. I've never been the guy to fanboy off of one specific brand because there's so many different types. And like in there, I've named, there's a Porsche, there's a Ford, there's a Corvette, there's a Chevy, there's a Ferrari, there's a Lamborghini, like there's a Nissan. I mean, everything is sort of covered and they're all very different and they all bring a different type of enjoyment. Even the NSX is not a fast car, but it just, there's something about it. The transmission is so buttery smooth. It looks very sexy and it's a super fun car to drive. So when you're putting together your dream garage, does everything have to be brand new? Does everything have to be the best performance? No, I don't need that. I just need like nobody on the road and I want to go out and have a good time. These are cars, every one that I've named is a car that I'm driving for me. I'm not driving to impress you. And that's my sort of way about going around vehicles is that like I drive vehicles for me. My job is not to show you that I have money. My job is to enjoy myself. And if you are trying to prove to other people you have money, you're probably leading your life a little bit differently than I would lead mine. And you'll probably notice when you look back that you'll find more enjoyment out of enjoying yourself than trying to prove to other people that you are enjoying yourself or making them think you're having a great time or you're better, more successful, or wealthier than you are.
Finding your next dream car can be like searching for a needle in a haystack, but the best tool to use is Autotempest.com. Autotempest is the smartest and most powerful tool to search for your next car or your dream car because they allow you to search all the major listing sites at once. Their motto is all the cars, one search, and they've been supporting VinWiki for the last 3 years. Quite honestly, it's the first place I go to look when I'm searching for my next car, and I think that you'll absolutely love it. So check them out today at the link in the description below, and thank them for their continued support of VinWiki.